Welcome back to another episode of Slam Talk Sports. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Darcy Slam Duncan. It is a pleasure to be here with you on what is a rainy afternoon here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Looks like the weather has changed. It looks like the grey skies are coming for us. But you know what that means? It means it's time for some footy. Yeah, it means footy season is finally here. What says footy more than 3 games at Marvel and having the MCG unused in late March? Hey, that's my first chagrin of the episode. There'll be plenty more things to complain about. But before I get into all that, before I get negative, I've got to talk about the positives. And I've had a tremendous week. I've interviewed a bunch of coaches over the past 7 to 10 days, and none bigger than Michael McGuan. Yes, Mickey McGuan down at Keilor. I spoke to the super coach, the mastermind himself, on Wednesday night, as I also made my debut on the AFL Tonight podcast, joined by the terrific Tara Murray, the always elite Eli Duxing, and the amazing Adam Turner. Yes, Adam, Eli, and Tara will be my tremendous co-host this season on that very, very fine product. The first episode is already out. I don't feature in that one. I'm just at the back, just pulling the strings, I guess. And by pulling the strings, I mean just nodding in agreement to everything they say, because it is a very, very, very fine product. Hopefully I can add something to what is already a tremendous podcast, but we'll see in the coming weeks. I will make my second appearance on Tuesday night. We do our preview show, but make sure to follow EDFL Footy on Instagram and on TikTok, and to follow the EDFL Tonight podcast. We have some big things in store for 2026. Enough about me plugging my my own shows. Slam Talk Sports, of course. If you don't know where to find me, you know where to find me now. It's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, it's on X, it's on YouTube, where you're watching me right now, and of course on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But enough about myself. Let's talk about last night's game. Geelong take down the Crows by 8 points down at the Cattery in what was a wet and windy affair. We even had hail in that third quarter. It was coming down in sheets, but you just knew down in Geelong, those Cats will always find a way to just grind out a result, whether it's just hitting the scoreboard at the right time, whether it's the umpires giving you favourable decisions, winning the free kick count by 13, whether it's any of those things, you know Geelong will find a way. It was through Max Holmes, kicked a goal, had 27 touches, was close to his absolute best. It was Bailey Smith who was at his absolute best, having 40 disposals, a career day, 172 Supercoach points. They led the way for the Cats, and some of the old guard. It's your Tom Atkins and your Tom Stewart, who wound back the clock with, how many touches did Stewie have last night? Just the regular 24. Also chipped in with a goal, and was very efficient as well, intercepting off half-back. It's what they do, the Cats. They find a way to win at home. They don't lose too many down there. On the Crows side of things, obviously no Jordan Dawson, no Rory Laird, missing a few of their stalwarts, but Josh Rochelle had close to a career day as well, in my opinion. 31 disposals and a goal. He was excellent last night, and a lot of positives to take out of this Crows performance. Undermanned, they did match it with one of the best teams last season. The only thing I'll say about Adelaide, narrow loss to the Dogs, narrow loss to the Cats, narrow win against the Pies. I'd like to see them string together maybe a month of good performances and get back to their high-scoring ways. Last night, not possible, obviously, in those conditions down in Geelong, but get back to the Adelaide Oval, their home deck. They've got a bunch of home games coming up. I'd like to see their forward line fire a bit more than it has early in the season. I know they're putting up points, but I'd love to see that forward half be so irrepressible. That's how they win the game. Their back line has been okay. It's not going to be their strength. It hasn't been over the last few years. But if their forward half game is really clicking, not many teams can put up the numbers to stay up with them. The Doggies can. That's a great forward line. It's arguably 1 versus 2 in terms of forward line talent. Not many other sides have the firepower that Adelaide do. Cats, they're just doing what they do. They're going to be around the top 4. They just find a way. They've always got good, solid players. No Patrick Dangerfield, of course, last night. He'll come back maybe against the Hawks in 10 days' time. Geelong play like 1 game in 21 days. It is truly horrifying, this fixturing. It makes no sense at all. I flagged this in November, not to pat myself on the back, which I am doing right now on YouTube, but it just is nonsense. It's pure nonsense what the AFL have cooked up for this year. I'm really hoping the momentum from round 1 is not being gutted out of this competition, because having your side play once in 20 days is not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone's engagement with the sport. It's not good to increase your reach or to grow the game at a grassroots level. I mean, people are going to go watch the EDFL footy because it's better and it's actually on. Teams are actually playing, unlike the AFL. Let's look forward to the weekend's games. Now, tonight's game is between Collingwood and GWS. By the time you're hearing this podcast, it may have even started. I do apologise for that. I've been a little bit busy, as I said, shaking babies and kissing hands, as they say. I've got a lot on at the moment, but I will be here all weekend if you want to talk about Supercoach. You want to just talk about life in general, because I went out for drinks with my good friends Scott, Holly, Corey, and Blake last night down at the Laurel Hotel in Ascot Vale, and we just discussed life and what's going on. And sometimes that's more interesting than a game of football when your team's getting pumped, which will probably happen on Saturday night. We'll get to that in a second. But firstly, Friday night footy at Marvel Stadium. Collingwood take on the GWS Giants. Pies are favoured, as you would expect, even though it is a home game in the Docklands. I don't know where the Pies fans know where that is. Damien Hardwick definitely doesn't know where the Docklands is, but Collingwood still is 17 points favourite on Friday night footy. The ins and the outs, I'll have them for you right now. As you see the graphic pop up on YouTube. There we are. In for Collingwood, their captain, Darcy Moore. In, Jeremy Howe. In, Oscar Steen, who will play backup ruck to Darcy Cameron. Out goes Ed Allen. Out goes Jack Buller. And out goes Will Parker. For the GWS Giants, in comes James Leake. In comes Ollie Hannaford. Out goes Harry Ralston. And out goes Jack Buckley. Begins for Collingwood in the form of Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe. Steen, interesting one. He's had to bide his time. 22-year-old or 23-year-old ruckman debuting. We'll give Darcy Cameron a nice bit of a chop out against the Giants tonight. But really, Collingwood just got better, and the Giants are struggling to get their best team on the park. You look at their outs, they're still missing the likes of Aaron Cadman. They're still missing the likes of Brent Daniels. And they're still missing Sam Taylor and Josh Kelly, who's out long term. And of course, Tommy Green, who will not play this season. I have to side with Collingwood. I know it's a 17-point spread, but I do think in Melbourne, with a much healthier side, they're going to get the job done. Now, Pies fans will complain this is at the MCG. This isn't at the MCG, sorry. I said stuff them. I said, Collingwood fans, stuff them. You know why? Because this is a better contest for the average person. You get under the lid at Marvel Stadium. It's a bloody windy Friday night by the time this game's played. You can have a better contest under the dome at Marvel Stadium. Hopefully it's a high-scoring, fast-paced affair that I do think Collingwood will take the victory in. Supercoach-wise, no one I'm looking to VC in this game. I had Nick Dacos, my number one trade option. If you're looking for a premium midfield replacement for Christian Petrarca, I don't mind Nick Whisper Dacos, but I wouldn't be putting the VC on him. I'd be saving that for one of my big dog rucks right now, the likes of Tristan Sherry Baby, or maybe even to put your C on Max Gawn and to VC Zach Butters early on Sunday against West Coast. From a betting perspective, 2 hours before the game starts, I don't mind Nick Dacos for 30 disposals. I also don't mind Lockie Ash for 30 disposals. Both are humming in great form. Can't see attention going to either player. I didn't mind Clayton Oliver for 25 touches at $1.33. I also don't mind Toby Green for 20 disposals and Jack Crisp for 20 disposals. Toby Green is just hitting this mark, but he's doing it with an expanded midfield role. Jack Crisp, not a huge CBA guy, but I just think he's playing really well at the moment, and 20 touches is quite easy for someone who gets pill as easily as Jack Crisp. I will say I don't know his record is as good at Marvel Stadium as the wide expanses of the Melbourne Cricket Ground, but I do think at $1.50 for 24, he still represents decent value. And Nick Dacos, anytime goal is $1.68. I think that's not the worst value. If you're looking up and cooking up those long weekend multis, Nick Dacos as your anytime ain't the worst value. He has 2 to 3 shots every single week, and his running power, similar to Max Holmes, allows him to get shots on goal from 35, 25 metres out a couple times a game. That's my opinions and my predictions and my betting advice for Collingwood and GWS on Friday night. We look forward to Saturday, and we are back at Marvel on Saturday as it is St. Kilda taking on the Brisbane Lions. Now, the line for this game Have a think. Have a guess. You've got 2 seconds before I tell you the line. The line is Brisbane Lions favoured by 12.5 points, despite the fact that it is at St. Kilda's home ground at Marble. It's a 12:35 p.m. start here in Melbourne. I think the Lions will be too strong. They have some key ins in the form of Darcy Gardner, who returns to their backline, Logan Morris, their top goal kicker from a season ago, and Zach Bailey, the All-Australian, and one of the best players in last year's AFL Grand Final. Out goes Dan Annable, who will miss 4 months. That's a bad one. That's a sad one as well for the top 10 draft pick. Out goes James Tunstall, and out goes Zane Zakostowski, who's in my Supercoach side. I'm not happy with that one. For St. Kilda, in comes Dan Butler, the Richmond Premiership player. In comes Dougal Howard. Doog. And out goes Anthony Cavaniti. And Hugh, you turned my son into a boxshell. A box. Brisbane favoured by 13 points. I think the Brisbane midfield will get on top at some point in this game. Now, I think that's just an obvious thing to say. Obviously, it's very obvious to say that, but it's their depth. It is the Ashcrofts. It is Lachie Neale. It is Josh Dunkley. They will find a way to generate enough football that their forward line can do enough damage. Logan Morris, so crucial to their structure. Cam Rayner is due for a big one at some point. They'll just grind away. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. And now I know these two sides really don't like each other, whether it's talking about dangerous amounts of money to pay players, whether it's talking about how many father-son free kicks they've been given in the last few years, the Brisbane Lions. There's a bit of animosity when it comes to this contest, but I do think Brisbane will be the stronger team. And despite the fact the Saints showed a little bit more form a week ago, I don't see them as a side that is really motoring at this point in time and will take probably 6 to 8 weeks to find out if they're actually a finals team. Brisbane, we still know, are a top 10 side. They'll get back on track, get their first win of the season on Saturday afternoon at Marvel Stadium. Let's look forward to the twilight game. It is between Fremantle and Richmond. Now, this game could be affected by some crazy conditions. No, it's not opening round. No, we're not in far north Queensland. No, these aren't quite tropical storms, but we do expect some heavy rain, potentially a bog track, but potentially a heavy 9 out there at Optus Stadium. Now, I know it is in the shadows of the racetrack there, but this could be an absolute mutter because how much rain are they projecting? Let me Google this up. Rain predicted for Fremantle versus Richmond. And the line, by the way, what do you think it is? I reckon it's like 30. It's 49 points. That seems like a lot considering it's predicted 55 millimeters of heavy rain. I don't know. I wouldn't feel good about tipping a team to win by 50 points in the wet. That doesn't seem realistic. I'm going to have to tip Richmond's line here if it's going to be 55 points in the wet. That seemed like a good bet. That really does seem like a good bet. And I'm terrible at gambling, but that seems like a good bet. I do think Freo, though, will be too strong. We saw them flex their muscle last week against the Demons when they won pretty handedly. It was Shea Bolton, it was Murphy Reid, it was Brayshaw, it was their forward line really getting on top of a young Melbourne side, which is still finding their way through the season. I mean, yeah, if I'm looking at some players to bet on, some disposal guys, it's a hard one with the weather. It really is hard. I like Murphy Reid. I think him pushing up to those 20 disposal marks could be an option. But again, if you get stuck in the forward line in a wet game, you're not going to really hit that. So I personally would be looking at someone like a Jack Ross, someone who's getting more of an expanded role in a midfield position who could hit that 20 disposal mark. Sam Lawler, probably more one for the Alts, probably like a 16, 17 touch guy. He's not quite getting all the opportunity to go beyond 20, but he's getting enough opportunity, enough CBAs that he's getting more than 15, which is probably not enough value for Sam Lawler. Otherwise, you're looking at those defenders. A lot of Richmond defenders get a lot of pillage. Sam Banks and is Jaden Short. People looking to bring in Jaden Short and Supercoach. Those people will be on Shutter Island in 2 weeks, just jumping at shadows, because Jaden Short is the type of guy who will take you out to a nice seafood dinner and then never call you again. You can't get into bed with Jaden Short. It'll only end badly for you. Despite the fact he's a good player, has been for a very long time, I just don't trust Jaden Short. But disposal-wise, again, heaps of pill of half-back and what could be a wet game. The ball might be stuck in the Richmond defence, so that could be an option. But just as a general rule, I don't like to invest too heavily in wet weather footy. Last night, there was a lot of good disposals go over, but you had someone like Isaac Cumming have 10 touches, or someone like Darcy Fogarty kick 1 goal. It's hard to predict what's going to happen in the wet. And now I know I kicked 6 goals against Marcelin in under 9Bs. 4 in the last quarter, actually 6 in the ruck. I know you weren't asking, but that's what happened. It is hard to kick goals in the wet, so we'll probably leave that game in terms of too much betting investment. But there is a game on Saturday night which I'll be very heavily invested in, and it will be emotional, not purely financial. Essendon take on North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. The line is, I think it's 14 points in North Melbourne's favour, if you can believe that. North Melbourne are favoured to beat Essendon for the first time since 2016. Yes, it is nearing on 10 years since Essendon lost to North Melbourne. Now, Essendon were pretty bad in 2016. Let's be serious. They had a terrible list. They had a VAFA level list. They had a sub-EDFL level list. They had an EDFL Division 2 list. That's the last time North Melbourne beat Essendon. I'm hoping it stays that way, but it's not looking likely considering North Melbourne are favourites. But let's look at the ins and the outs for Saturday night footy. For Essendon, out goes Hussein Al-Achka, out goes Jaden Newen, out goes Mason Redmond with a long-term meniscus injury, and out goes Max Kondogiannis. In comes Archer Day Wicks, in comes Jacob Farrow for his debut, in comes Jade Gresham, in comes Saad Al-Hawley. For North Melbourne, in comes Aidan Corr, Callum Coleman-Jones, Georgie Wardlaw, and out goes Griffin Logue, Jack Darling, and Jacob Constanti. Interesting ins there for Essendon. Not much experience there in Daywicks, Farrow, and Al-Hawley, so it doesn't give me too much confidence that there's some game winners coming in. People that might get a fresh look on things, though, looking for the opportunity and to stamp their mark in the senior side. That's all I can hope from the Essendon side of things. And North Melbourne, a veteran, and Jack Darling goes out, a veteran, and Griffin Logue. And I think Aidan Corr makes their team better, and obviously George Wardlaw does as well. Who do I think is going to win? I honestly think Essendon's going to win. And that seems counterintuitive. It seems not in line with what I've said over the previous couple of weeks. But if they can't get up for this game, they won't get up for another game all season. They've had their professionalism questioned. They've had their integrity questioned. What bigger indictment is there if you're someone saying you don't care about what you do? You don't actually give a stuff. You're highly paid and you're happy to be highly paid and be mediocre. Mediocre. That's a great segment on the Sunday Footy Show. Be mediocre at your profession. I don't know how you can go on after that. You just have to show something, Bombers. If you show nothing against a team that you've owned for 10 years, what's the next lever to pull? You can't just go, oh, rah, this is going to be the one. We're going to have ourselves so emotionally hyped up and whipped to win this game and come out there with some pressure and some integrity and some oomph, some mongrel. You tried that round 1, it didn't work. Round 2, I don't know what you tried, but whatever you did, it didn't work. This is the last chance. If you lose to North Melbourne badly, then everyone comes for you. Not just the supporters, the media, which has already started. The Wolves will be licking their lips because they'll have a taste of blood. Because the two teams that they love to sink their teeth into will both be fighting up against each other, and someone has to lose, and someone has to look bad, and there has to be a coach fired at some point. Because that's what the media does. The old media, they will find a coach under pressure, and they will put him under a stove. They'll put him in a burning pot until he taps out and they get their man. Then they'll say, oh, was it too soon? Oh, Essendon, what a dysfunctional club. How could they do this? When they're the ones turning the screws at the same time. It is just reality, and we've seen it time and time again. Who's it going to be? I think it might still be Brad Scott. But whoever loses this game will be under incredible, incredible pressure. Because North Melbourne, under Alistair Clarkson, who is, in my opinion, at this point in time, still the greatest coach in the history of the sport, won't have improved much under his watch. Gradual improvement, 5.5 wins last year, but I know by their standards, that's not enough. Essendon, under Brad Scott, they've gone backwards every single season. I know that's not what you want to hear, Bombers fans. I know we're in a rebuild. I know we've had some good draft picks over the last 12 months, 24 months, but we'll be probably in a worse position than when he came in because we thought we were playing finals when he came in. He came in to take us to the next level. He didn't come in to have a full-scale rebuild. That was not what we signalled, and that's not what we're telling our supporters, our members, our 100-year, 50-year fans of the club. We're not telling them we're the start of a rebuild. Oh, no. We're telling them that we're trying to compete each week, and we think I've got a playing list that can do that. When in reality, that's just not the case. I think Bombers will win. I think it might not be in the best interest of the club long term, but I think they will win this game. And I think it'll be Zach Merritt again. I mean, Zach Merritt has carried this team on his back, as particularly against North Melbourne. He just becomes Superman. And I think he will once again. We could see the likes of Finn O'Sullivan tag Zach Merritt on Saturday night. Whether that does enough to curtail his influence, I'm not sure, because he's such a good player, particularly against North Melbourne. But I think Zach Merritt will have a large say in the contest, and maybe someone like a Nat Caddy or a Peter Wright actually kick some goals this week. And that could be enough to separate the sides, because it's often dogfights. It's often very scrappy games. We saw last year's game, 2 scores in the 60s, despite being in perfect weather at Marvel Stadium. Finbar Maley, who played last night, unfortunately missed the shot after taking too long in his run-up, and that cost North Melbourne the 4 points. End of the day, I'll see a very similar result tomorrow night, and Essendon win a scrappy one. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. Whether Essendon are actually coming last and they're going to lose this game, and it could be one of the greatest spirals in sporting history since that 2000 premiership. Essendon 25 years later, despite never really competing again after the 2001 grand final, and now in a worse position than when they were coming out of the drug saga. They actually might be in a worse position because of the lack of talent on that list. Let me know what you think. Let's move forward to Sunday afternoon footy. Oh, before we do that, the bets for that game. I didn't mind Tristan Sherry again for 20 disposals. He's everyone's VC and Supercoach this week. Obviously, he's playing against Lachlan Blackiston. I think he'll absolutely dominate him in the grapples. In terms of just hit-outs, it doesn't really seem to be getting Blackiston a lot of points because our midfield isn't quite linking up very well when he does win the hit-outs. A lot of sharp taps from Blackiston. And I just think Sherry is going to be a bear. I mean, let's be serious. Tristan Sherry is not a human. He is a grizzly bear of a monster when it comes to ruck contests. And I think he'll have his way of Lachlan Blackiston. And 20 plus touches at $1.70 seems pretty good value to me. Essendon side of things, probably McGrath and Durham at about $1.30 to have 19, 20 touches. They have that pretty much every single week. It's a soft matchup against North Melbourne. I can't see any of their players going to McGrath or Durham. I mean, why would you? They're not considered high possession players, but they do just enough to hit their mark every single week. Let's look forward to Sunday football, and we've got an early one, a very early one if you live in Western Australia. But the game is in Adelaide, between Port Adelaide and West Coast. These are your lines. The first line, I'll tell you, is the points line, and Port Adelaide are favoured by 24 points. That seems light on, doesn't it? Oh, that's interesting. Port Adelaide only win by 24 points. They beat him by 80 points in the preseason, but Connor Rozee was playing. Of course, he headlines the outs for Port Adelaide. Out goes Connor Rozee, out goes Miles Bergman, out goes Todd Marshall. In comes Dante Vincentini. Hold on. These teams are old. We need the new teams. You haven't updated yourself, Sportsbet. Pathetic. And you want my money. You'll probably get it too. In for Port Adelaide, in Lockie Jones, in Will Brodie, in Josh Lay. Apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. Out goes Todd Marshall, Miles Bergman, and Connor Rozee. For West Coast, in comes Josh Lindsay. Hooray, he's in everyone's Supercoach teams. And in comes Harry Schonberg. Out goes Harry Edwards, and out goes my man, Milan, the Doc, who has suffered a hamstring injury after taking the absolute piss in his first 2 games as a professional footballer. I think Port Adelaide covered that line. I don't think Port are a great side, but 24 points seems light on, doesn't it? I mean, they're way better than West Coast, surely, even without Rozee and Bergman. We'll find out on Sunday at 12:30 Melbourne time. Midday start over in Adelaide. That's nice and early. Probably not a bad thing. I don't mind my footy ending by 6 o'clock on a Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but the late games, I'm so tired come Sunday night. I want it done at 6 o'clock. I want my Supercoach open at 8 o'clock, and I want to be able to rage trade everyone on my team by 8:01 on a Sunday evening. That's just how I like to spend my Sunday, okay? I ain't got much on. Clearly, this game, disposals-wise, it's a tough one. Butters should be flirting with 30 once again. Who benefits from Rosie being out? That's the question, because Ollie Wines hasn't been picked. Who's going to be getting a bigger midfield opportunity? Is it Willem Drew? Is it, I would have said Bergman, but he's injured and he's obviously not playing. It might be Willem Drew, but it might be Jason Horne-Francis. We saw his midfield time expanded once Rosie went down. Now, Josh Carr has said he wants to give him more time to build up into the season, whether that's a month as a forward, whether that's 6 weeks, it might be 3 weeks. And this might be the time we see 50% CBAs from Horne-Francis from the get-go. I don't mind him to kick a goal and also to get 15 to 20 touches. Have to assess what the odds look like, probably closer to the day, just because I don't have as much confidence on how Port Adelaide are going to line up. There's a couple of moving pieces in their midfield, but I do like Horne-Francis to slowly, just gradually start doing some more Horne-Francis-y stuff as we get into the season. And from the back line, I like Kane Farrell. I wouldn't say he's in amazing form, but Rosie had a couple of kick-outs to start the year. The ball does flow from him from the back half. That might mean Kane Farrell just has more opportunity in the back line, and he is a very damaging kick of the football. West Coast side of things, Harley Reid looked really good last week. Whether he can do that away from home, I'm not sure yet. Liam Baker had 19 touches in like 70-something% game time. He was injured, didn't finish out the game. I think a lot of the ball flows from Liam Baker off the halfback flank, so I don't mind Baker and Harley Reid in most of your multis. Let's look forward to the last game on Sunday. It is at the MCG. We finally get back to the best stadium in Australia, and it is Carlton taking on the Melbourne Football Club. The line is, I reckon it's like 17 points. I reckon it's like 17 points. It is 1 point. Wow. Does that surprise you that Melbourne are favoured by 1.5 points? I like Carlton, don't you? Maybe I'm being crazy. Maybe I'm a prisoner of the past. But Cripps is healthy. Walsh is healthy. Harry Mackay's healthy. Jacob Weathering's healthy. But why are we down on Carlton? What did Melbourne show to make us think Melbourne are better? They beat the Saints, who we don't really rate. They got thumped by Fremantle and Perth. I mean, Carlton, I know they barely beat Richmond. What am I missing here with the Blues? I mean, they weren't diabolical against the Swans. It was 1 quarter, and that was a month ago. It generally was a month ago, so I'm not going to hold them prisoners to that game. I think the Blues might be one of the bets of the weekend, actually. They're getting $2 on Carlton to win. So let's just think about that now. Carlton, $2 to win. Port Adelaide to cover a spread of 20 points at like $1.70. And also Richmond plus like 10 goals could be the play. If I was doing a 3-leg parlay for 3 results, you can even throw Essendon plus like 4 goals in there as well, but it's going to be a bit dicey. I don't trust Essendon as much as the other ones, but I think that's not a bad look at it, honestly, and that's purely from a line betting perspective. I like Carlton to win this game. I just think the leaders of Carlton will stand up in a game like this. It is Cripps. It's going to be Walsh. We could see a Colton Tholstrup tag on Sam Walsh. Unsure whether they go to the tag again or that was a one-time thing. Gorney should have a good day against Pittinet, but it's not going to be an easy one. I mean, Carlton will find ways to limit how truly dominant Gawn can be. I don't think he's taken apart Carlton in the past, and that is the biggest draw card Melbourne have, and it always will be, is having prime Max Gawn. Not that impressed with Melbourne's forward line. It's okay. Van Ruin ain't kicking 6 every single week. So I do think the Blues can find a way to grind out this victory in what might be like an 80 to 70 kind of game at the MCG on Sunday afternoon. Give me the Blues. Disposals-wise, I think if Walsh gets tagged, Jagger Smith, 25, 30 touches could be the play again. I think Cripps will have a pretty strong one. I haven't mind Florent off halfback. Florent and Holland, it's hard to predict which one will get the touches, but I think they're both decent options and look for the correct value when it comes to those two plays. The ball flowing off the half-back line is a good opportunity for Carlton to get a bit of control in this game against the D's. The D's don't seem that worried about defense, which is the complete opposite to how they played under Simon Goodwin. Very much a contest-heavy team that relied on having May and Lever as their pillars in their back six. Not quite how they play anymore. It's a much more open game outside their midfield tag. So I do think that Carlton will be able to get a bit of flow, get a bit of pressure in the contest, and then put that on the scoreboard. I'm taking the Blues in what could be maybe a 10 to 15 point kind of contest in the MC. Gee, that's it for the preview show for round 3. It was a pleasure as always. You can catch me next week here at Slam Talk Sports or on Saturday night at Essendon North Melbourne. If you see me, come say hi. Come tell me how big a mistake I made when I was 5 years old, when I chose Essendon over Collingwood. I'm not going to get emotional about it. Not here. I might get emotional on the AFL Tonight podcast, where you'll hear me every single Tuesday night. But until then, until next week, you can find me on socials at Slam Talk Sports, on X, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Apple and Spotify podcast. Enjoy a weekend of footy. Good luck to your team, unless your team is Hawthorn, and they ain't even playing this weekend. So I've already won in such a small way. Enjoy your weekend.